गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So we are in Kena Upanishad chapter 3, and in this chapter what we have studied till now will be presented in a story form. But the best part is we have forgotten what we studied in last two chapters. So we'll have an overview of the two chapters and then enter into the third chapter so that we are able to connect the story with the topic on hand. And what is the topic? Topic is Brahma Vidya. Topic is the truth. And therefore, this Upanishad, when it began, the student who has already worked out, he has done the karma, worked out that karma cannot give him what he is seeking. He has done the upasana and he has come to the conclusion upasana also cannot give him what he is seeking. And therefore, after having got exhausted all the options that he has to find the answers, the student then comes to the feet of his teacher, of the teacher, and he questions. What was the question? Kene shitam. Where are we? He said, Om kene shitam patati preshitam manaha kena pranah pradhamah praiti yuktaha kene shitam vacham imam vadanti chakshushrotram ka udevo puyunakti. What is that power? What is that force? What is that principle? What is that inspirer within, behind, due to which everything, due to which the mind gets activated? See? Because I have tried. The student is saying, I have tried, I have understood. The senses can function only in their areas of influence. Eyes can see colors and forms and shapes. Ears can hear the sounds. But I have also come to know that mind has got no limits to think. It can see beyond the senses. It can go into past and future. It can imagine. It can conceptualize. But it is not able to work out. I have worked it out. What he has worked out? I have worked out that the cause of the senses is the mind. But I am not able to find out what is the cause of the mind. Kene shitam. What is that because of which the mind is functioning? I'm not able to catch that. And I'm not able to find the source. I'm not able to find the cause. I'm not able to find the inspirer of this mind, because of which the mind is functioning. See, is that our situation also? It should be, if it is not. But this will only come about when we have according to the scriptures, from the teacher, from the Guru Maharaj, here Adi Shankaracharya ji, come to suss it out and not just heard. I have heard the scriptures, but I have seen their application, how the statements that are made by the scriptures are true in my life. We must not, normally when you go to school, the teacher says this formula, sine theta plus cos theta is equal to tan theta, for example. I think it is right, I don't know. Okay. Now, you didn't say, oh, I don't believe in this. I'm going to find out tan theta plus cos theta is equal to sine theta. No, you go and prove that if that is the equation that has been given to you, now you find the teacher gives you, the textbook gives you different examples of how that particular equation is true. Similarly, when scriptures are telling us something, we must not go about just flipping it away. Scriptures to kuch bhi bolte hai. Then nothing is going to happen. Then what do we have to do? We have to see that what scriptures are saying, how it is true in our life. If scriptures are saying this sansar is bhavasagar, do not get attached to it. What scriptures can say? They can say that some foolish fellow has written it and then we have to suffer when we listen to the scriptures. No, that is not the right attitude. That is not the right approach. Then you will never understand anything. Then you will continue to suffer. Then you will continue to complain. You will continue to be miserable throughout life. Instead of that approach, our approach should be, oh, if scriptures have said that this sansar, the changing world, how it is changing, let me observe. Come to the conclusion, yes, everything is changing. Start from wherever your attention goes and find out what all is changing and make a list if you can't think everything out. See? If it is told that it is Bhavasagar, how it is a world is sucks you in. Find out how it sucks you in, by way of relations, by way of possessions, by way of in different ways. Hunger, thirst, heat, cold, everything is, it is keeping you locked in. We have to cut that cord. But for that cord, nothing needs to be done to cut the cord. Only understanding has to come. Only understanding has to come. We should be able to see the world and its shortcomings from the eye of the scriptures. And if you read this verse, you will not understand. So you need a teacher to explain to you, because he has learned it from his teacher and so on. It goes on. So here our teacher is Bhagavad Pad Adi Shankaracharya, who has exhaustively dealt with this topic, leaving no doubt in the mind. But are we available? That is the question. This student who has gone to the teacher with this question, Om Kene Shitam Patati Preshitam Manaha, desired by whom the mind functions. Has this question ever come to us? Or are we like a default setting, waking, dream, deep sleep, waking, dream, deep sleep? You spent some sleepless nights when you pursued your profession, but once you got the certificate and were able to perform in that field, then those sleepless nights are over. Nothing in front of you. Nothing which is beyond your reach. What is that? This student has come to know that what is whatever that cause of all causes, that causeless cause, that which is that because of something, whatever it may be, because of which the mind is functioning, he has not been able to work it out. He has not been able to think it out. He has made his mind to go in all different directions, to search, to find out, to seek, to surrender, to know what is that one because of which the mind functions. He has not been able to find out. And so he has come to the teacher. Because kena pranaha prathama praiti yuktaha, what is that because of which the pranas function? Kene shitam vacham imam vadanti, that the speech happens, chakshu shrotram ka udevo yunakti, that all the five senses function, and also because of which the devas also are. Devas, we told you last many classes ago, devas, what are they? They are the productive potentials. That power behind the eye, because of which we are able to see. That power behind the mouth, because of which we are to taste. That power behind the ears, because of which we are able to hear. They are the devas. So, having said that, then the teacher, when he sees the student, that this student is sincerely, through his self-analysis, he has spent the time, he's single-pointed. Teacher comes to know. How does teacher come to know? Today's times, the students assess the teacher. It's not that way. Here, the teacher, an adept teacher, merely by looking at the student, into his eyes, into his demeanor, is able to make out how deep he is or how shallow he or she is. See? और स्वामी जी says, लिफाफा देख के पता चल जाता है कि लिफाफे के अंदर क्या है. And if you get a telegram, either there is a good news or bad news. आजकल तो टेलीग्राम नहीं आता. So the teacher says, and here he says that what you are seeking to know, that is all that there is. That is that principle. And towards that he says, Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Mano Yad Vachoha Vacham Sa Upranasya Pranaha Chakshushash Chakshuratamutya Dhiraha Chakshushash Chakshuratimuchya Dhiraha Pretya Asmat Lokad Amruta Bhavanti. He says, that principle, whatever you are asking, oh my dear student, the answer to that is that principle, that substratum, that common denominator, that constant is the ear of the ear, mind of the mind, speech of the speech, prana of the prana of the pranas, eye of the eye. So the wise men speak. He didn't say, I know it. He didn't say that. He said, so the wise men speak. So the wise men say. Who are the wise men? See, just as it is very difficult for parents to be a teacher to their child. Why? Familiarity. The child takes the parents for granted and he never listens to the parents. Get up anytime, sleep anytime, eat anytime, watch TV anytime. While eating, put the food everywhere. After eating, put the dishes in the dish. Not even put the wash their own dishes. Spoiled kid. Why one? Hum do hamara ek. So same thing happens when he comes to the teacher also. Same thing happens. Because no student comes to the teacher with very few, because he does not have any data that this teacher knows what I am seeking. No student knows. So there is an element of doubt. But that doubt can only be overcome by faith, by respect, by reverence. And faith is necessary blind. You have to have faith that this teacher knows, and therefore I must be available. Because if I maintain the doubt in my mind, then who is going to not benefit? I'm not going to benefit. See? And therefore, is this just like many people have told us when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, you, to the exclusion of everything, you think of me. And then what will happen? I will take care of their needs and their whatever their requirements. Isn't that an egoistic statement by Krishna? Our answer to that is, first of all, Krishna never said that. Because in Bhagavad Gita, nowhere it says Krishna said that. It always says Bhagavanu Vacha. It didn't say Shri Krishna Bhagavanu Vacha. Bhagavan is a principle. And it does not matter if he comes as Buddha, he comes as Krishna, he comes as Rama, he comes as Narasimha, he comes as Matsya avatar, or any avatar. That Bhagavan is present in everyone. And yes, he does take certain times specific forms. How do you know that person who's coming next to you is not the specific incarnation of the divine? So it is Bhagavanu Vacha. And this will remain a point of contention until unless you don't practice what he has told and find it out for yourself. Tab tak lage raho. You remain in doubt. Neither you are progressing. You are harboring the doubts in your mind. Then you are not, as a result, you are not available. Delusion increases. Knowledge remains incomplete. And then you will pass comments and commentaries about that teacher or Mahatma that I don't think he knows. Like in our Chandogya Upanishad, this is what happened. I told you in one of the classes. The student came back to his father and said, Dad, I learned everything. Dad just asked one question because he sent him away to study with some other teacher. The father said, did you learn that by knowing which nothing else remains to be known? The son thought for a minute. Then he said, I think my teacher did not know, so he did not teach us. Because I don't know it. I am the star pupil of my teacher. This is arrogance. That means even though he was a star pupil, but he was not available. Every teacher in every satsang always brings about the topic of the ultimate, of the divine. In fact, every scripture, every verse is taking us there. But are we available? Are we available to the process? By following, by understanding which we go beyond understanding. By reading, by listening to which we go beyond listening. By thinking about which we go beyond thinking. This can only happen in this interaction. It cannot happen by reading. See? Why did I tell you all this? because the teacher said, what did he say? Atimuchya dhiraha. So the wise men say. He did not say that I say that. Because if I say that, the student will say, Acha, bada 30 mark kahan aa gaya, Guru Maharaj? Do this, show me some siddhis, show me where is Brahman, show me that, show me this. So then it goes in the wrong way. So the wise men speak, because we are from the parampara. We are talking about what we are reading here is Shankar Bhashya. Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya is a wise man, he is a dhiraha. Jnaneshwar Maharaj, he is a dhiraha. All Sant Mahatmas are dhira. They are wise men who have transcended their faculties. And therefore, where are we? Okay. Pretyasmat lokad amruta bhavanti. And these dhir purusha, they understand that what you are asking in this manner, that it is shotrasya shotram, pranasya pranaha, and so on. And by knowing it in this manner, they are able to give up the world. They are able to give up the lokaha. They are able to give up the samsar. They are able to give up the relative existence. Loka is relative existence. Either you say it is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Samadhi, or you can say it is the 14 bhuvanas, the 14 planes of experiences. Gurubhuva, Svatapa, Janama, Satyam, and Tala, Vitala, Sata, Sutala, Talatala, and so on. So all these 14 planes of existences where some experience, lok means a plane of experience. So they give up this plane of experience, gross or subtle, or which is only at the level of mind, and are able to amruta bhavanti, are able to gain and establish in immortality. When? While living, not after death, while living, here and now. So having told this, then the third verse, the teacher continues to, where are we? Now the teacher continuing to explain that this is how the Mahatmas or the Dhira Purusha say. And what do they say about the Atma? That Atma is unknowable. And it is anirvachaniya tattva. It is the most wondrous. It is that which cannot be spoken about. And yet we are speaking and trying. You are asking me a question, oh student, and I am answering you, and the answer is in words, vachana. But what you are asking, the wise men say it is anirvachaniya, agneya, unknowable and beyond the words. Unknowable, how do we come to know anything? We only come to know in our daily experience. Our knowledge takes place through the mind and intellect. We just use word mind. In the mind, how does it take place? Everything that we know, past, future, thoughts, emotions, seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting, all the stimuli, all the objects of the world, the vishayas, all of them, we know it through our mind only, by way of thoughts. And if you are going to use the same faculty to know that which the wise men know, it will not work there. It will not work. Keep applying to yourself. Be subjective. Keep applying to yourself. If we apply the same faculty with which we have been searching till now, will keep getting the same answer. What is that? I don't know. If I don't know, I think there's nothing like that, but that will come later. So here the teacher is saying that what you are asking is, the wise men say that it is unknowable and it is anirvachaniya. It cannot be spoken about. Yet the conundrum is, the student has to be spoken to by the teacher, and the student has to understand with his mind. And teacher is speaking about that which cannot be spoken of, and the student is understanding that which cannot be understood. See the maja. See the maja. This is the conundrum. And yet, there are so many Mahatmas who were born like you and me and have come to know the truth by following the process. But we must not forget the ultimate destination, that it is beyond words and beyond mind. That we have to get to. In fact, not get to, that we essentially are. And therefore, here in the yeah.
Why is the word pratyasma used here, Swamiji?
Huh?
The word pratyasma?
Where are we?
The second, last line, Swamiji.
Two ways you can say, either at the time of death, or what is your understanding of death? Is it only when the life ends, or you take it as a principle?
As a principle, because it's happening all the time.
At this very moment. So we can transcend and be the infinite one right here and now at this very moment, if we are available. The relative, the jiva, the seeker, he is caught up in, I was born and so many years have gone and still it has not happened, and I'm getting old and now my disease is coming, now corona has come, now the third wave is coming. Will I get realized before the third wave comes? We are not waiting. You can. There are people at the last moment it happens. But we are, Jivan Mukta Purusha is here and now, while living. Upanishads don't talk about, because at the time of death, because Upanishads do not accept death as an event in life at the end of life. Life is a continuous process. Death is a continuous process. It is happening every moment. And that is how the vision of Upanishads is towards these two. Not as a specific event at a specific time, which which a common man has accepted as death, when a person is buried or a person is cremated or whatever. We are not talking about that. Huh? Okay?
Okay, Swamiji, thank you.
Now my page is gone. Now the third verse he says, na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vak gacchati, na manaha, na vidmaha, na vijanimaha, yatha etad anushishyad anyadeva tad vidita tatha avidita dadhi iti shushruma purvesham yen astadvyacha chakshire. So now he is talking in the passive sense. And what is that? That truth, that reality, that Atma, that principle, Keneshitam, you asked, O student, that principle is that where na tatra chakshur gacchati, the eyes cannot go there, the eyes cannot see that principle. And we have explained that to you before. Just I'm going to give one example, then you can work it out if you remember it. Otherwise, listen to it again. Eyes are able to illuminate all the names and forms and color. Sorry, not names and forms and colors, shapes and colors. But are the eyes able to illuminate the eyes themselves? Not possible. Are the eyes able to see the mind? Not possible. Isn't it? Is the mind is able to see all the five senses, but is the mind able to see the intellect? No, because it is finer than the mind. Is the intellect able to work out the conscious principle? Not possible. So, na tatra chakshur gacchati. Now, apply the same thing with everything. That it is that where the eyes cannot go, the speech cannot go, the mind cannot comprehend it. So the speech cannot speak about it, the mind cannot comprehend it, the intellect cannot understand it. Na vijanimaha. And it cannot be no, na vidmaha, na vijanimaha. And na vijanimaha means, and we don't know how to put it across to you. Oh dear student, we don't know how to tell you how it is. Because it's all the faculties that we have just mentioned, chakshur, vag, mana, vidma means intellect. All of them are dysfunctional before it. They are impotent before it. They are unable to illuminate that principle. So, no vijanima. No, I don't know how to tell it to you. You have to work it out. It's your responsibility, not my responsibility. Because I already told you, speech cannot illuminate it. Yet I am using the speech. And I also told you, mind cannot reach it. So you are trying to work it out in your mind. So now, while listening, oh student, you have to go find some way. Be alert. Be free of doubt. Be free of objectivity. Don't allow the samsara to hook you, even for a moment. Now you work it out within yourself, how to go beyond these faculties. Because it is you only. It is not other than you. Apply it to yourself. So we don't know how to explain. Yatha etad anushishyad anya deva tad vidita tatha avidita tadhi. Therefore, how to give this explanation to the student, we don't know, and we don't know, and it is beyond our understanding how to put it across to the student. And the only way we do it is just through the scriptures. Otherwise, ahankar will come, that I found it in my own way. Gaye kaam se fir. That is why Shrotriya Brahmanishta Mahatmas are very rare. We can find many Mahatmas who are Avdhutas. We can find many Mahatmas like Shirdi Baba, like many others are there. Anand Mahima or Neem Karoli Baba, Meher Baba. In the Natha Sampradaya, so many Mahatmas are there. Even Ammachi, for that matter, she is also from the Nath Sampradaya only. Satya Sai Baba was also from the Nath Sampradaya. They don't teach. They do miracles. They have siddhis. They control the nature. They put you in situations where you come to have unshaken faith in that infinite. And very rare one among their disciples will go and ask them, but that student who, or that disciple who will go and ask them, he is completely surrendered. He has got no doubt as to the divinity of his teacher, of that Mahatma. But when you come to Shankaracharyas of our Bharati Tirtha of Sringeri, or Parmacharya, or to present the Shankaracharya of Kanchi and other places, I don't know about other places, but at least these two I know. Because others are only fighting for the Shankaracharya Peeth, own the property. So Parmacharya Swami Chandrasekhar Saraswati ji was there. So these are Shrotriya Brahmanist. They were not born divine. They were not born with siddhis. They went through the whole study system. They studied the scriptures. They do the puja. They do the japa. They do the abhishek. They do the mantra chanting. They do everything that is required to be done. They are doing their sadhana. They are living in this world. They are hatke nahi hai wo. They are just like you and me. And when you look at them, there is, yes, you can, but because they are just, they also go to sleep, they also dig. If the mosquito comes, they will also do that, you know. But who is Shrotriya Brahmanist Mahatma? That realized master who is living life by the way of the Upanishad, is able to communicate the Upanishads in the manner, you know, how 500 years ago, what examples they were taking, today what examples we are taking is totally different, but the theme is the same. So he's able to communicate the principles of the Upanishad. And more importantly, he's living the truth day in and day out. If he's talking about one must not have raga, dvesh, he should be equanimous, he should be practicing that, only then the student is going to accept it. Otherwise, अरे ये तो कुछ भी करता है, इसको पे गुस्सा आता है, उस पे ऐसे करता है. He's attached to this student, or he's attached to that food, or he's attached to his pillow. Then they will not have respect for that Mahatma. So Shrotriya Brahmanist are very rare. They only come by way of, majority of them come by way of parampara. So here, this teacher is saying that I don't know how to talk about it, and I don't know that I don't know how to explain, and that I'm not understanding how to communicate it to you. You have to work it out. Then, and this, and then, tad aviditat adhi athaha aviditat adhi, and this truth, this principle, this constant one, this desired by whom the mind functions, your question was, that particular principle, it is other than the known and the unknown. Now, this is the first, these are the pointers that are given to the student. And this we have, iti shushruma purvesham, ye nastad vyacha chakshire. This we have heard from the people gone, the masters gone by, and who did the explanation to us in the earlier times when we were students. And in this manner, what is the known and the unknown? Known we understand. Whatever we see, hear, touch, feel, taste, that is known. Specific knowledge is known knowledge. absence of specific knowledge is unknown. And these are the only two spectrums in which our mind can function. Known, I won't go into detail. We spoke about it in the lecture when it was there. Known, waking and dream. Unknown, deep sleep and samadhi. See? And what is the truth? Beyond all these four. And therefore, the teacher says, then he says in the fourth verse, Yad vachanabhyuditam yena vagabhyudyate tadeva brahma tvam vidhi naedam yadidam upasate. So, yad vachanabhyuditam. Abhyuditam is that which is not illumined. So, yad vacha, that which is not illumined by the speech. Yena vagabhyudyate. But it is that because of which the speech is illumined. That which cannot be illumined by the speech, but because of which the speech is able to express itself. Meaning that is what is called illumined. Tadeva Brahma Tattvam Vidhi. That one you understand to be the Brahman. What is that? That because of which, that which cannot be illumined by the speech, but because of which the speech is, in the presence of whom the speech is able to express itself. Come to know that to be the Brahman. And anyone, here it says, na idam yadidam upasate. He who does upasana. If we do, what do we do upasana? Upasana is Narayana Suktam, Shri Suktam, Durga Suktam, Purusha Suktam, Rudram. We are going on and on and on and on. More purifying than all these suktams are the Upanishads. They are able to cut your umbilical cord completely, once and for all. If chanted with, start chanting, meaning will automatically, the interest will come into what is the meaning of what I'm chanting. Otherwise, when we do Durga, we are hooked on to Durga Ji. If we do Purusha Suktam, we are hooked on to the Purusha principle. If we are chanting the Rudram, we are hooked on to the Shiva. Who are these? They are the totality. And we are the individuality. We are still in the relative world. And what are we seeking? To go beyond the relative. We are seeking to go beyond the relative. So we are this principle, when he says, Tadevata Brahma Tvam Vidhi, come to know this as Brahman, that which cannot be illumined by the speech. All suktams, all mantra jap, Vaikari Madhyama Pashyanti Para is all mantra only, upasana. Come to know this truth to be other than these. Man, we can't even take the name. Then what do we do? No, we are speaking right now and you are listening. Right now, be available to that, because of which hearing is possible, that because of which the speech is possible. Is our attention on the words that are coming to us, or are we being the constant one in whose presence the thoughts are coming and going? Maintain that poise. For that, alertness is required. That For that, unhooking from the world is required. Your samsara, relations and possessions, past and future. That I am this body, senses and mind. You have to unhook from all this. You have to accept that all these you cannot be because they are changing. They are known. Our big problem, the whole world, this example I have given you many times. The whole world we go. What do we say? This is a laptop. I know this is a laptop. I am not the laptop. This is a boy. I know this is my son. I am not my son. I am other than the son or daughter or husband or wife. And this is how we interact with the whole world. This is a house. I know this is a house. I am not the house. This is fire. I know this is fire. I am not the fire. This is an unspoken knowledge which is taking place within your mind continuously. But when it comes to this body, you are seeing this is a body. I know this is a body. But the rule changes. I am the body. The moment you accept I am this body, that very moment you have accepted you are a jiva. You are a conditioned entity. You accept the conditioning limitation of desha kala vastu, space, time and objectivity. See? And we have told you before in one of the classes, this you cannot stop. Expression of consciousness through body you cannot stop because you did not start it. It is from Anadik Kal. It is beginningless. Then if I can't stop it, then what's the point of saying that I know this body, this is a body, I know this is a body. Then what's the point of saying I'm not the body? No, you have to say, I am not the body. Then who are you? I am that principle, which is the same one which is expressing through all the bodies. Because you cannot do body disidentification. Man, Swamiji, you are really confusing us. Sometimes you say get body disidentified. Now you are saying you cannot get disidentified. Identification and disidentification is also an imagination of the stupid mind. We have to speak in opposites, in contradictions, so that you don't create a concept that I have to get body identified, disidentified from the body. Then you may take a pill and tomorrow say, then there'll be no one left to tell Swamiji, I got disidentified, because you are already free of the body. What I'm saying is what is given in the scriptures only. So yes, from the relative standpoint, we say at the beginning where you consider yourself to be the body, then we say disidentify from the body. But when you get disidentified from the body, we say you cannot disidentify from the body. Then why? Because you are the one who's expressing through all the bodies. But that is, what is that? Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. Your attention is still on Purusha and Prakriti. Known and unknown. Prakriti goes into known and unknown. Purusha is watching. So which one are you? Are you the Purusha in contrast with Prakriti? Or are you the one who is the Ishvara of the Ishvara himself? Who is the God of gods? That is our true identity. Anyway, so let's continue. Kya time ho gaya? So continuing, these three verses go on like this. Then he comes to the next one. Yanmanasana manute yena ahurmano matam tadeva brahma tvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That the truth is that principle is that Isha is that which cannot be reflected upon by the mind. Yan manasana manute, reflected. But it is that because of which the mind is able to do the reflection. We say, no, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. That Mananam is the faculty of the mind. Mananam is not about the samsara. The word Mananam is used when the mind is contemplating on its source. Then Mananam. But when, what are you doing? Mananam. What are you thinking? Has my child eaten or not eaten? That is not Mananam. Mananam is when our focus is on the divinity, on the reality, on the constant, on the essence, on the presence, on that unknowable principle, which is beyond our faculties and which is not separate from us. Arre baapre. Which is not separate from us also. Yan manasana manute yena ahur manomatam. But because of which the mind is able to do able to reflect. Tadeva Brahma Tvam Viddhi. Understand that principle to be the Brahman, the infinite Brahman, which is closer than the closest to you. This is not given there, I am adding. And don't seek it. Don't seek it in specificity. Don't seek it in specificity mean don't seek it in a name and form. Don't seek it in imagination. Don't seek it in thoughts. Don't seek it in concepts. Don't seek it in ideas. This is all limitations. Concepts, ideas, imaginations, name, form, all these are specific knowledges. And what is this? This is unspecific. Meaning, no name, no form, beyond mind, beyond speech. Yeah, why the scriptures are so speaking like this? They don't want to. They don't want us to come to know about it. Huh? Are they purposely teasing us by speaking in this contradictory language? No. The scriptures have the nurturing ability of millions and millions of mothers put together. That's why it's called Shruti Mata. She is the true nourisher of a person. Mother nourishes only out of attachment, out of infatuation, because she has given birth. Shruti Mata nourishes anyone who comes to her. And painstakingly, through different ways, different methods, for all type of mindsets, Karma Yogi, Bhakta Yogi, Upasana Kanda, Jnani, those who believe only in yoga or different things. She is able to cater to every type of mind and bring them to the ultimate destination. And show them that that destination that they are seeking is not separate from them. That is their essence. Who else can tell that? So she's not confusing us. She's not making it difficult. You are making it difficult for yourself because we are not available to it. Because we have some other hooks which are holding us on to the world. Then what to do? Purify, purify, purify. And keep attending satsangs. Somewhere or the other, in these 9 Upanishads that we are going to do, somewhere it will click. But do your japa sadhana. Vaikari madhyama pashyanti para. Twice a day. Slowly, slowly increase the the duration. Live in silence. Don't disturb the world by manasa vacha kaya, nor get disturbed by the world from anyone's manasa vacha kaya. Maintain this. How difficult is it? Rather than get frustrated to know the truth. Why don't you live in such a manner that, acha bhaiya, aakhir mein mere ko, I have to come to know that I am the truth. Then what is truth? Satchidanand Swarup. Then whatever you are speaking, whatever activity is taking place, seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, thinking, eating, walking, waking, dreaming, sleeping, let everything, whatever is happening in you, be an expression of that Ananda. Rather than seek Ananda, let everything be an expression of Ananda. Story over. फिर कहीं पहुंचने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. Because you don't have to reach anywhere. You are that what you are seeking. यच्चक्षुषा न पश्यति येन चक्षुंषि पश्यति तदेव ब्रह्म त्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते. Again here, यच्चक्षुषा न पश्यति, that which it cannot be illumined by the eyes, but because of which without which the eyes cannot see, eyes cannot illumine the forms and colors. Understand that to be the Brahman, and don't search for that Brahman in the lokas, in the samsar, in the specific conditioned world, in the relative world. What is the relative world? Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Daivik. This is the two relative worlds. Adi Bhautik is outside, Adi Daivik is inside. Outside is the gross, inside is the subtle. Both are the result of conditioning of Desha Kala Vastu. Adhyatma in the other sense, Adhyatma can never be conditioned. That is the principle that we are talking about, or we are looking for in this Upanishad. The Adhyatmic Vastu. यत् श्रोत्रेण न शृणोति येन श्रोत्रमिदगं श्रुतं तदेव ब्रह्म त्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते. Now this is for all of us. There is one speaker and there is one listener. So that yat shrotrena na shrunoti, that which cannot be heard by the ears, but because of which the ears are able to hear. Now this is applicable for you and me. Is our attention on that, because of which the ears are able to hear? Or are we only busy collecting information and forming concepts? Tadeva Brahma Tvam Viddhi, understand that to be the Brahman, and don't seek the Brahman, that infinite principle, that desiring principle, because of which the mind is functioning. It's not, you can't even say the word desiring principle, but the word they have used is kene shitam, kena ishitam. Isha means to desire. Ish has two. One it means is to desire, and the other meaning is movement. The most desirable. What is the most desirable? Bhagwan, Prabhu, Paramatma. And in this manner, yat pranena praniti, yena pranah praniyate, tadeva brahma tvam viddhi, nedam yadidum upasate. And here pranena praniti, here pran, Adi Shankaracharya said, instead of pran, use it as ghran. And therefore, the ghran is the ability to smell, that which cannot be illuminated by any nostril, the smelling ability, but because of which the smelling ability is functioning. Understand that to be the Brahman. Just like in a dead person, when that principle is off, when that body is unable to express that infinite principle, the Atmic principle, what we are giving it the word Atma. Here they have not used any word called Atma or anything like that. That principle. Something is missing in a dead person, and that something is present in you and me right now. And because it is missing in that person, all the five senses, as well as the organs of action, as well as the mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankar of that so-called dead person are not functioning the way they are supposed to function, isn't it? Then that principle is present within us because we are alive at the moment. So what is that? Because of which all these faculties are functioning. According to the Bhagavad Gita, that is the ultimate dharma. Dharma is not taking care of the husband. What is my duty? Dharma means duty. Majority people only talk about that. In English language, you can only say that much. Duty. And duty means only what I can do. The ultimate duty is to know that you are that infinite one. That is the ultimate duty of human birth. बाकी चीजों में फालतू में लगे रहते हैं. With that concluded the first chapter. The student was very keenly listening to the teacher. Very keenly he was listening to the teacher. And as a result, one moment. And as a result, the student, when he was listening to us also here, when we are listening to each other, not listening, it's only one way at the moment. Only if you call me Bhiksha, then I have to listen. Otherwise, only you are listening. What can happen? Whatever the information is coming across, few options can happen. And that is that the student clearly understands that which is being communicated, that the student little bit understands what has been communicated, the student misunderstands what has been communicated, or the student completely understands the opposite of what has been communicated. And the last one, the student does not understand anything at all. What is our caliber? What is our quality? So that this student who came to the teacher, Kene Shitam Preshitam Manaha, asking this question, the teacher knows that any of these could have happened when he was speaking about the first chapter. You see, anything could have happened. Just to check if this student has been available, and the teacher has to use, the only option the teacher has is to use the known means of knowledge to communicate that unknown principle, that transcendental principle. Known means of knowledge are specific, and what is being communicated is the non-specific through those specific words. See the problem of the teacher also. You're understanding what we are saying? the teacher has to, through the known means of knowledge, communicate that which is beyond the known means of knowledge. So while this communication is taking place and the student is nodding and rolling his eyes and sitting in meditation and whatever, the teacher has to know whether this fellow has properly understood or not. And that only teacher can. How will teacher find out? By asking questions. If the student is available, the teacher knows who is available, who is not. He will not ask everyone. So, see how difficult this. It's very simple, but because we are so addicted to objectivity, we are so addicted to objective experience, and therefore we the Lord brings us across a teacher, the teacher uses the words, and we are listening to the teacher, and therefore it is told Shravanam. It is not told Pathanam. Therefore, it is told Shravanam. If you read yourself and try to understand Gaya 12 ke bhav mein, understand this basic problem, basic issue here. The Upanishads, the teachers, the Mahatmas are communicating that which is beyond the words through the words. And while listening to the words, the student has to click while listening, because the commentaries are exhaustive. In the satsang, we cover all different angles of approaches. Upanishads will cover all different angles of approaches. No doubt will be left for you to undo, provided we are available. So it is only through satsang, satsangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nishchalatatvam nishchalatatve jivan mukti. Our delusion, our wrong conclusions about life, our wrong notions with which we are conducting our life are only removed by the satsang. Any satsang. Listen. Shravan karo, Shravan. Anand mein. So here the teacher, so the teacher now in this next verse, in the second chapter, he gave the answer to the student's question, Kene shitam prashitam manaha. He gave whatever we went through the verses. Now to check whether the student has understood the way the teacher has communicated and what he wanted the teacher to understand or not understand, the teachers will say something and shake him up now. Purposely, he will do that. See? So it is not that, no, now I have come to know the truth. Brahman is everything. Reality is everything. How can everything come to know everything? It is not possible. So from Brahman's point of view, the absolute reality point of view, nothing is to be known, because it only is. For knowledge to take place, there must be two. In the absolute, in the Brahman, in the Paramatma. There is only one. Ekameva dvitiya nanasti kinchana. So who will know whom? I don't have to say, I know myself, I know myself. Do you say that to yourself every day? No. Then why will Brahman say that? I know. Then if you are already that, when you come to be the Brahman, why will you say that I know that I am Brahman now? You will not say. See? So to check this. But it is not that does it mean that if I cannot say that I am Brahman, does it mean that I am not Brahman? No, you are still Brahman. And that is the point that is how the teacher then shakes the student and because has the student understood what was told in the previous chapter? When I said Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik, has he come to know the truth in the Adhyatmik way, that truth is somewhere inside these body, breath, mind, intellect vestibule? If he has taken the support of the koshas of the body, then he will come to a wrong conclusion. Here, the process, the principle that we have to come to be is beyond all conditionings. Remember last 3 verses before in the last chapter, Tadeva Brahma Tvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. It is, don't search for it in the relative world where Desha Kala Vastu is the conditioning and limitation. Body is the result of Desh Kala Vastu conditioning. Breath is the breath, thoughts, intellect, concepts, ideas, waking, dream, deep sleep, samadhi. All of them are conditioned by Desha Kala Vastu. This is limited knowledge. Complete knowledge is, in spite of them, I am. And it's a thought-free poise, thought-free abidance, thought-free knowledge, thought-free experience. In other words, experienceless experience. So has the student come to be this? And therefore, so the teacher says, so if the Brahman cannot be known by the one who is abiding in Brahman as Brahman, and for the one who is ignorant, he also cannot come to know. So is Brahman an unknowable? And these things happen because one reaches the void. When you are searching for the truth through the support of Panchakoshas, if you are searching the truth through Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, you will come the void. Void is Ghungat ke patak khol. Pat hai wo. That is the veil. That has to be removed. That veil can be removed only by abidance. So Samadhi is not the ultimate goal. So here the teacher says that you have still not understood, and therefore the student who was instructed by the teacher, there were many students, but this particular student who had asked the question, he did not go to sleep and with a controlled mind, single-pointed mind, started to contemplate, and he withdrew from his friends, from the teacher, and went and sat in a corner and started contemplating on what the teacher had just said, that the truth is beyond the known and the unknown. And don't look for it objectively, and thus was able to know the truth without any contamination of thought. Without any contamination of thought, the student came to know. He had the eureka. He had the realization. And thus, now, so when we are listening to a teacher, when we are sitting across the Upanishad in a satsang, we are gaining indirect knowledge. Understand? Paroksha Gyan. Paroksha means that which is coming from some other source. Paroksha Gyan is where there is duality. If you are not having this disposition that, I am also me and I am also Swamiji and I am speaking to myself. If this is not your direct experience, then it is Paroksha Gyan. So whatever we are listening is Paroksha Gyan. How we listen, how we process it, are we able to go beyond the words and suss out the moral, what the words are indicating, which is beyond the words, and can be able to abide in the aparoksha Gyan. So paroksha Gyan has to be converted into aparoksha Gyan. And this must be done on a daily basis. This student, he listened to the teacher and he went and sat down with a single pointed, focused mind, undisturbed mind, and was able to know the truth, which was not contaminated by any wrong knowledge or wrong thought, and thus was able to have the aparoksha Gyan, direct experience, direct knowledge of the self. Direct knowledge of the self is that knowledge without a thought. Right now, we are only using thoughts to communicate. If you're thinking, I am, you have used the thought. Then he comes back to the teacher and said that I have understood Brahman. The teacher, when he says that I have understood Brahman, that he has understood it very well. The teacher again takes the mickey. He says, oh, have you understood it? Now, that was in the first verse. He says, what was it? Where are we? Yadi manyase suvedeti dharameva nunam tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshu athanu mima gangsyameva te manye viditam. So, what does he say? That I have come to know it very well. So, the teacher tells him, if you know it very well, then you have come to know it very little. You have come to know it, the first verse, you have come to know it very little. That if you have come to know it as a form, then that form is also known by the gods, and the gods, whatever form they know of that infinite reality, that is also a limited knowledge of that infinite reality. It is not the complete, because he is the Ishvara of the Ishvara, I told you before. And that also is very little. So therefore, you have to contemplate. And then he went and contemplated, and then he came back, and then he came with a roar. This time he came back with a roar because the teacher had told that you don't know. It is beyond the known and unknown. So here he comes and says, Naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha, no nastadveda tadveda, no na vedeti vedacha. He says, I don't say I have understood very well, because the teacher said, Acha, you have come to know it very well, then you don't know anything. You have not reached it. So this time he says, oh, I don't say. He's also saying it in the passive way. That I don't say that I know it very well, but it doesn't mean that I have not understood very well, that I have not understood it very well. So he's capturing both sides. He's not getting caught up, because it is something that which cannot be communicated. It can only be communicated through contradictions. See, in the sandhi is between the two contradictions. Sandhya vandana, between the two thoughts, between the two breaths, between the day and night or night and day, sandhi. And in this way, so therefore the student says, no na vedeti vedacha. Therefore, I know it also and I don't know it also. See? And in this way, and then the student says, what does he say? That among all the students, because he came and roared, suddenly it clicked. It's a click. It is not a working out. But we have to work it out. We have to put attention. We have to put efforts. As long as we are thinking, we have to put efforts. Just like as long as you want to sleep, you have to put efforts to get into the bed, change into night dress, get into the duna, think about sleep. And then sleep takes over. That is a limited example. But here, yes, if you are in the relative, you need to put efforts. Only to become effortless. So what is the truth? That which is beyond efforts and effortlessness. That which is beyond the known and unknown. So he comes and roars in front of all the students that anyone who has known it the way I have just mentioned, then they also know it. See? Then he continues in the third verse, the Shruti Mata. What is the time? 8:56. Quickly. From here, the third verse onwards, the Shruti Mata takes over from where the student left, where he roared his experience of realization. And she says, Yasya matam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasaha avijñatam vijanatam vijñatam avijanatam. It says, Yasya matam tasya matam, matam yasya na vedasaha avijñatam vijanatam vijñatam avijanatam. This Brahman, the one who doesn't know it, truly knows, and the one who knows it, he does not know. Again, opposites. Now we have given the commentary on it. Because that those who say that we know it, even if they don't know it, it is still known, because that is the substratum. So it was known before also, but you were not available. And those who do not know, they are also knowing it because that is their substratum also.
Alert from low battery.
Oh, low battery. Yeah. One moment. Because unlike the various objects of the world which can be known through various faculties, this Brahman, this reality cannot be known in the same way. We have already explained that it is non-specific in nature. It has got no contours. It has got no shape. It has got no form. It has got no color. It has got no qualities. It has got no attributes. See? Just like from sun's point of view, there is no heat and light. We say, who are away from the sun, that sun is hot and sun has light. But from sun's point of view, there is no heat and light. It is its nature. So it has got no attributes. Similarly, this truth, it is, so understand what the student is trying to say. This is what he is trying to say. That the knower, the one who says, I know, doesn't know, and the one who doesn't know also knows. Then the next verse came, and we talked in detail. I don't want to go too much into the detail. Then it says, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. And there, how do we catch it? How do we, what is its location? How do we come to know where it is? This is the explanation by the Shruti Mata. Student is not saying that. So first it said that those who know don't know, and those who don't know know. In fact, both of them already, they cannot, the knowing and the known and the unknown, both are pervaded by that infinite Brahman. Now, how do we come, how is this Pratibodha? How do we come to be that? Here it says, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. Pratibodha is pratyak bodha. Pratyak bodh is, bodha means knowledge. Knowledge means, for us, knowledge means where the triputi is there. The knower, known, knowing. Experiencer, experienced, experiencing. Thinker, seer, seen, seeing, and so on. So wherever this triputi is taking place, meaning there is a thought taking place. If one is missing, thought cannot appear in your mind. If one of them is missing, if the scene is missing, the seer and the seeing, they cannot function. If seer is there and scene is there and the seeing faculty is not there, again communication cannot take place. If the scene is there and the faculty is there, but the seer is not there, again the thought cannot precipitate. Knowledge cannot take place. You understand? So here, Pratyak Bodha means with every specific knowledge that is taking place, recognize, be the illuminator. Don't take the position of the seer. Don't take the position of the hearer, toucher, feeler, knower, experiencer, waker, dreamer, sleeper, meditator. Don't take that position. Then allow all those to take place. Whatever the object of cognition is coming, but instead of taking the position of becoming a seer or a knower or an experiencer, remain the one, remain equanimous, come to this, that let every thought which is coming by itself, you are not creating the thought, it is happening. You are not doing anything. I am speaking. It's coming to you. What are you doing? What is your contribution? Your ears are open. Words are going through your ears and appearing as thoughts. So what is your contribution? Nothing. Remember in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 what we are doing? There, the thoughts, the experiences are self-cultivated by the 5 causes. Nothing to do with the Atmic principle, isn't it? So thoughts are coming. Instead of taking the ownership of the thought that, yes, I heard it. No, remain equanimous. Remain undisturbed. Remain unchanged. Remain as the illuminator. And remember one thing. As I am speaking, when I spoke these 4 words, when I said as, the thought appeared as in your mind, then there was a gap. Then I said the word I, then I appeared in your mind, then there was a gap. Then am, thought came into your mind, then there was a gap. Then speaking word came. So continuously, there is a thought coming and there is absence of thought. There is presence of thought, there is absence of thought. And this is how the specific knowledge and non-specific knowledge at the relative level is continuously coming to you. And what is the non-specific? The unknown. So thought is the known. I know as I am speaking these words, you know. And between those 2 words, there was no word, there was absence of word. So are you not the illuminator of the words and their absence? Or are you the illuminator of only the words? You have to take the whole experience into consideration. Your knowledge is 2-fold here, of the thoughts and the absence of thoughts. But we are always lost only in the thoughts, never in the absence of thoughts. See our shortcoming, because nobody taught us. So here, Pratibodha is coming to this disposition that every thought that is coming of its own accord in our mind, but instead of getting lost, what that thought is, what it is indicating, what it is reflecting, what it is meaning, what is its nature, it is a good thought or a bad thought, it is not, don't get lost in it. Instead, come to know, come to be, not come to know, come to be the illuminator in whose presence this thought and the absence of that thought is happening. Pratibodha viditam matam. This is how, it is not a fantastic idea, you know, one day I will come to know. I don't know why it is not happening, why the truth is, when will it reveal to me? Oh my God, so many years of satsang is going on, and you know, now 2 Upanishads are over, 7 more Upanishads, he said, by God. Here he is given, right here and now. Pratibodha viditam matam. Pratyak bodh, it is happening every moment. You have to recognize it, that's all. You have to discover that you are the unchanging one. You have identified with the thought, so you are changing. Man comes in front of you, the wife comes out of you, the child comes in front of you, mother comes out, you are changing. Be the woman. Thoughts are coming and there is absence of thoughts. You remain the changeless. You remain the illuminator. You remain as the absolute presence, which is not affected by the presence of the thoughts or the absence of the thoughts. That is pratyak bodha. That is So here the teacher is, the Shruti Mata is telling that sorry, I'm going ahead, just quickly we'll finish it, that every thought, every experience, every contact, every association can become a stimulus for us to fall back into ourselves as the illuminator. That is Pratyak Bodh. So discover yourself, that you are not one day going to come to know yourself. With every thought or absence of every thought, you can come to be. To bring this about, our Jnaneshwar Maharaj tells us, Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. So as the momentum of the thought slows down, as you go from Vaikhari to Madhyama to Pashyanti to Para, then it becomes easier to catch. But it does not take years of practice. If we are available right here and now, it can happen right now. If you are listening to this and falling sleepy, means everything is slowing down. Good thing happening. So many times you are listening to all the thoughts, other times you are sleeping. So it balances out. Thoughts and no thoughts. Pratyak Bodh. Now only question is, are we able to come back to the conscious, be the conscious principle in whose presence the thoughts and no thoughts are happening? And with that, this is how we come to know the Pratyak Bodh. And by knowing this, by having this Pratyak Bodh, by being this Pratyak Bodh, by discovering ourselves to be the changeless principle, we become immortal. That is the immortal, not we become immortal, that is the immortal principle. And Atmana Vindate Viryam, we use the strength, the vitality from all other means, but the greatest vitality is, the greatest virya is that which is gained through Atma Bala. And Atma Bala comes when we are available to the Pratyak Bodh in every experience. Vidyata, and this way, that Amrita Tattva, the immortality, is not gained by going to temples, by going to Tirtha pilgrimages, by going to Mahatmas. Please touch your hand on my head. Please thump my back. Please raise my kundalini. No. Immortality is gained by the one, in the one, for the one. Uddhared Atmanatmanam. Natmanam avasadhaye. Not by any anatma. Nothing outside of you. What is outside of you? Even the thought is outside of you. So nothing can give you that. You are self-established. You are self-illumined. You are self-knowing. And that is the true Amritattva. That is the true Virya. And by coming to know this, by being this, one comes to immortality, and once and for all, the darkness of the cyclical birth and death is once and for all brought to a stop. And then in the last verse, he says, where are we? Quickly. Kahan gaya yaar? Iha ched vedi, yahi hai na? Iha ched vedid atha satyamasti na ched iha avedit mahati vinashtihi bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretyasman lokad amruta bhavanti. And then this is the, which we have repeated many times. And what is that? That in this birth, if we can come to realize this Brahman, then it is good. And if we have not come to realize this truth in this lifetime, in this birth, then we are doing a great disservice to ourselves, because we don't know what our mind is cultivating, what thoughts, what ideas, what imaginations it has cultivated, which will lead us to which yoni in our next life. And suppose we have fallen in love with some cat or dog or tortoise or something, and then you are going into that lower yonis, then how many more lifetimes you'll have to go through in order to come back to the human yoni, human birth? And then again, that opportunity will be available to you. So don't do this. And intelligent people recognize. Important thing is not keep the world away from you. We have to come to such a disposition wherein what we are seeking, keneshitam, that which inspires the mind, mind only can think about objective objects. Deshakala vastu, we have to somehow transform the entire Deshakala vastu into the Brahmic experience. We have to transform all the waves and all the oceans into water. When I say this, you know that. But does the wave know that? So if you are the wave and that ocean is the Ishvara and our life is the Jiva Jagat Ishwar, this is the threefold world that we are stuck in at the moment. We have to transform this experience of ourselves into a unifying experience. And that can only be possible when we come to know this Brahma Tattva as I, without a thought. And that is possible through that Pratyak Bodh, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. And this has to be done in this lifetime. For that, we must have the urgency to know. After that, there is no question of misery because there is no otherness after that. Now, with this recap of the 2 chapters, I think that's the last verse, isn't it? Yeah. With the recap of these 2 chapters, in the next, now I thought I would start in this class, but it's okay. We have not lost anything. It was good that we recapped in one go the entire scheme of thought in the 2 chapters. With this background, we'll enter into the 3rd chapter in our next class. So reflect on what has been said, that in this lifetime, not next. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Before I go away and you all go away, there was a suggestion that this coming weekend is a long weekend. Our lockdown has extended. So we might be having the Sri Ramana Gita continuation of retreat from whatever the chapter. I'll send the SMS and tonight. And the lectures will be 9 to 10, 11 to 12, 2 to 3, and 3:30 to 4:30. On Saturday and Sunday. So Sunday morning, we will give a miss to the meditation this time. We'll come straight at 9 o'clock for the satsang, okay, for the Ramana Gita. So that's the latest update. Sit quietly for a few moments and then we conclude. Hari Om, and I take an extra 15 minutes. Right, so you have to suffer, not me.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Swamiji,
Bolo.
Long weekend is next week, I think. Next Sunday.
Amma, not this weekend?
No, next Sunday. Next Monday, sorry, 14th.
Wait. Usha.
12th and 13th, Swamiji.
Yeah.
So this weekend is what? Not 12th?
No, it's not.
Okay, 12th and 13th. I'll just check one moment.
This weekend
12th and 13th. Okay, 12th and 13th of what is this month going on?
June.
12th and 13th of June. I'll send the SMS.
That's really nice. Yeah. Rebecca,
Okay.
do you like it? How much is that one? I do. I really like that. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know if I'll be here. He's telling us.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
It's poetry.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om Bodh.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om. I thought it was this weekend. No, it's next. So it's good.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om Pramila.
Oh, sorry.
Who is this Anuja? Someone came. Anuja Krishnamurti.
Lata.
Oh, Lata.
Swamiji.
Ah,
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om, how are you? How come Anuja? Anuja is your granddaughter's name?
No, Anuja is my daughter's name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The one who has a daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Chalo.
Oh,
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, Renuka.
see you, Swamiji.
Bye.